Alright, so I am going to be creating a rain effect in this video, but the rain effect itself isn't the point, because there are a lot of different tutorials on rain, and we've seen them all, and everybody's got their own version of it. What I want to do here in this video is not just create the rain, but create the drops that it hits. When it hits something, it makes a tiny splash. And what I want to do in this particular image is you've got this hand sticking out, and I want to see the drops hitting the surface and bouncing off. No, we're not going to animate it, of course, but we're just going to create a still effect where we're not just creating the rain, but we're creating it hitting the surface as well. So let's begin by, let's go ahead and create the rain effect first, and then we'll add the splash drops after the fact. So first thing is, I don't want this to be these normal colors. I want to give it kind of an overall monochromatic hue. So let's drop in a quick solid color adjustment layer. And of course, yes, blue is my favorite color. Why not? Let's do blue, and we'll change this to color. So it gives it a little bit more mood about it. So I'm going to highlight that background layer once again, and let's create a new blank layer so it's still inside where this color adjustment layer is. I'm going to press Command, or actually Shift Delete to open up the fill dialog here. We're going to use 50% gray, click OK. Now it appears light blue, of course, because of this blue color adjustment layer. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off for the time being so you can see how we're going to go about creating this. So on that gray layer, set our default colors here. Let's go into the filter menu and go to noise, add noise. And here I'm just going to keep the amount at 100%, and we're going to set it to Gaussian at monochromatic. Checked on, so let's go ahead and click OK. There, it applies it. Now, I want to give this a little bit of a blur here. If we zoom in here, you can notice, it's got very sharp edges on that noise, which may play a part in how the ultimate effect comes out. So we're going to change it up a little bit by simply giving it a very, very tiny blur. Let's go into the filter menu, go to blur, and I'm just going to use this very one right here, just blur. Gives it a very tiny blur, almost like a 1 pixel blur. And now I'm going to go into the filter menu again, and this time we're going to go to stylize and choose wind. And we have several options here you can certainly experiment with. I have wind, blast, and stagger. Now in this case, I'm going to go ahead and use blast because it looks like it's going to give me the effect I'm looking for here. And you can certainly do from left to right, doesn't matter. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and there we got our effect. Now, to intensify the effect a little bit more, I'm going to press Command or Control F, and it reapplies the filter on top of where you've already applied it. You can actually do it a couple times and get a different result. But now what I want to do is invert the values, because I want my rain to have a little bit more detail than this. So I'm going to press Command or Control I. Now it starts to look like real rain in a sense. So we're looking pretty good. I'm actually going to zoom this window out. I'm going to Option Command minus just so it zooms the working window out, leaving the overall frame in place. And I'm going to go ahead and press Command or Control T to bring up my free transform. I'm just going to go rotate this layer slightly, and I want the rain to be coming in at an angle as it hits this hand, so I need to kind of position this about where that would be, right about there, and I'm going to go ahead and scale it out to fill the area of my document. And we'll just press enter, and let's zoom in and see what we've got here. So, got it, looks like rain. Well, it doesn't really look like rain yet. We have to blend it with our background layer. So I'm going to go over here and change the layer's blend mode to screen. So there, it takes on a little bit more realism to it. So let's go ahead and add that blue color. And what we're noticing now is that the rain effect is way too intense. Not a problem. With that layer selected, I'm going to press Command or Control L to bring up my levels. And because it's a black and white layer, we can adjust its intensity because it's in screen blend mode, which is only showing us the light areas of that image. So if we increase the dark areas by pushing in the levels, we're ultimately going to make the image a little bit more clear. If I take the middle slider, it makes a little less of an adjustment, but the rain effect is a little less intense and still looks like rain. So, hit OK, we've got that, everything looks cool. So, we've got our lighting set, the rain is falling, now we need to create the reaction or the ricocheting drops that are hitting the surface of the arms and the hand here. We're going to do that with a custom brush. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new document. And to do that, I'm going to do this cool little trick I learned. You take your rectangular marquee tool. I'm just going to draw a very tall box on my document. And I'm just going to go under Edit and go to Copy. Then when I go to create a new file, I'm going to go under File and go to New. It's going to take on those dimensions of the object that is copied in the clipboard. So if I click OK, you can see it creates a document that very same size as that selection. I don't have to paste what I just copied. I just wanted the sizes to be remembered. So now inside this document, I'm going to press Command or Control I to invert the background from white to black. And let's go ahead, I'm going to create a new blank layer here. And let's go into the toolbar, grab the brush tool, and let's get a relatively soft edge brush. Let's get about a 45, I guess. I'm going to change or flip the colors around, so I'm painting with white, of course, on a black background. So if I just paint once, you'll see. Looks like the pressure sensitivity is on. So let's open up the brush options. And inside Shape Dynamics, you can see the pen pressure is set. So I'm actually just going to turn off Shape Dynamics altogether. And now it's doing it at the right size. So I'm going to close that. Before I paint anything else, I'm going to change a couple of properties up here. I want to set the blend mode of this brush to dissolve. And the opacity I'm going to set to about 50%. So soft edge, dissolve, 50%, pressure sensitivity's off. Right towards the top on this blank layer, I'm just going to click once. You can see it gives me kind of a really kind of a scattered pixel look. Might even take the opacity down. Now, the number of scattered pixels, or how much is actually sprayed down, is determined by the opacity. So I'm actually going to take that down to about 40 and click once. You can see it scatters some fewer pixels in there. So now that object is on its own layer. I'm going to press Command or Control T to bring up Free Transform. Then I'm going to Control or right click right on that object, and we'll get this little menu. And here I'm going to choose Warp. I'm going to grab the middle of the grid here. Normally you'd probably grab the handles, but if you grab the middle of the grid here, you can actually maneuver around the middle of the shape. And I'm just going to pull it right toward the bottom of the document. When I press Enter, notice what I'm getting. Kind of looks like a splash, doesn't it? It's kind of a cool looking splash effect. So I maybe want to squeeze it in a little bit here. So now this is the shape that I want to define as a custom brush. Now, if I were to define this file as a brush now, the background would be the brush, because anything black is going to be the opaque area of your brush. So in essence, I need to invert the values here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and flatten the image. I'm going to press Command or Control E, and that merges those two layers together, and then just press Command or Control I, and that will invert those values. Now let's go into the Edit menu and choose Define Brush Preset. It's going to look at that area, define it, OK. Go ahead and minimize this file, I don't need it. Deselect in here. Now let's go ahead and create a new blank layer in here and grab that brush and modify it a little bit. Now, grab the brush tool, again, painting with white. I'm going to go in the brush menu here and find that brush we just created. It should be the very last item, or the very last icon, which is right there. You can see the preview is enormous. Now, it's good that we defined it really big. That way, when we make the brush smaller, it's not going to lose a tremendous amount of detail in it. So I'm just going to use my left bracket key and just make that a little bit smaller. Then let's take the blend mode of the brush back to normal, and let's take the opacity up, not all the way to 100, let's try about 80. And then let's modify the brush behavior inside the options here. I'm going to open up the brush options, and this time we are going to activate Shape Dynamics, but we are going to go ahead and turn off the pen pressure setting, but I'm going to take the size jitter slider and push it all the way to 100. And notice what's going on here. It's starting to give me some interesting results here. Still inside Shape Dynamics, I'm going to take the angle jitter, take that to about 5. And that's all I'm going to do in there. And I'm going to activate scattering, and I want to make sure I got both axes checked, and I'm only going to scatter at about 35. So you can see what in the preview, it's giving me a pretty interesting result. It's a little too bunched together. There's a lot of drops going on in there, so I'm going to actually space that out. Let's go in the brush tip shape section and push the spacing up. And let's take it to about 80. Now, one more thing. Notice the brush preview. It's got the brush going straight up and down. I need it to kind of match the angle that the rain is falling, perhaps, a little bit. Not exactly, but just a little bit. So I'm going to take this little rotation tool here and just give it a little bit of a nudge. Right about that. So it's pretty close to matching that angle. So I think that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and close that. Brush still looks a little big, so I'm going to use my left bracket and nudge that down a little bit. And let's just paint in here and see what we get. That's looking like really cool drops hitting on there. Now the angle might be a little too straight on, so let's go in there and modify that angle just a little bit more. In the shape dynamics, let's increase that angle jitter just a little bit. Take it to about 7 rather. Okay, there we go. So it's given us a bit of an interesting result. So it's, it's varying surfaces, the angle of the surfaces on the arm here are varying. So I'll just paint these drops in here. Now it's good that the rain effect is already there because it's already starting to sell the effect. If I had been painting in this area and then added the rain, it might not have looked correct, and might have been going, doesn't look right. But look at it as a whole in context. It really looks like the rain is bouncing off these hands here. Maybe this make this effect a little bit more intense inside the palms here. Now notice we're getting some of these harsh edges here. That's just merely a matter of grabbing that eraser tool and just kind of pushing those out. Erase those away a little bit, make it a little bit more subtle, make it a relatively soft edge eraser, but just so it's more hitting the surface and not really looking like it's just sitting on top of the image or whatever. But there you pretty much have it. So we've not just created the rain, we've created the drops as they're bouncing off the surface of these hands. So it gives you an idea. You can do all kinds of different things by not just creating rain, but you can actually have it interacting with your subject.